Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm Amy of Sunlit Pages, and I'm here with my co-host, Suzanne of Such Stuff. And this is episode 17 of the Book Blab, a monthly show about bookish things. And it's been a while. I think our last show was actually in January, maybe?
I think so.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is a monthly-ish show. Yeah, so maybe we should just catch up our viewers a little bit on what's been going on over these last few months since we haven't been doing our show.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Uh-oh.
It's all right. Did you ask a question?
Oh, I said, do you want to catch up our viewers with what's been going on?
Okay, yes.
Life? I can do the same.
So most of our viewers probably know that I'm getting a PhD right now. So I'm probably the reason we haven't done this since January. This last semester has been crazy busy. So yeah, I've just been taking classes and teaching, and things are finally winding down. We're in finals week right now. So I have a paper due tomorrow and another one next week, and then I got to get my grading in. But it's looking up. It's looking close to done. Yeah. Yeah. What have you been up to, Amy?
You know, I mean, for us, I'm not in school, but all my kids are in school, and there are a lot of activities, especially in May. May almost feels like the new December a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a lot of, recitals or end of the year things or, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just busy that way. But it's good. So today's topic, I'm actually a little bit surprised that we have not talked about this topic yet.
I know.
But today we're going to be talking about book clubs. And the reason I'm surprised is because both Suzanne and I are long-term book club members and have participated in book clubs a lot. So, and different kinds of book clubs. So we thought it would be fun today to kind of share the ins and outs of how to have a good book club and why we have a book club and what are good books to read in a book club and really how you can make it your own so that you can actually make it work in whatever your situation or circumstances are. So this question might be a little bit obvious, but why? Why do we have book clubs? Why? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I know. Well, it's like book clubs have been so big for the past, couple decades or however long that, yeah, it feels like everyone knows what they are. Everyone's probably part of one, but yeah, so it might be obvious, but the answer is, first off, having people to talk to about books. I mean, so most bookish people are introverts, at least I am, right? And lots of bookish people are. We're introverts. Yep. And you read your book alone, by yourself, somewhere, whatever. But sometimes you just really need to talk to someone about a book. And especially after you're out of school and not taking English classes anymore or not taking any classes where there's assigned reading, yeah, book clubs are just a great place to find your people and to have someone to talk to about the books, right?
Yeah. Yes, there have been some books that I've read that I really need to process after I finish reading them. And so, yeah, sometimes it coincides with a formal book club discussion, which is awesome. And sometimes it's just, a casual conversation with a friend. But some books really just beg to be discussed, I guess.
Well, and sometimes, it's books that I read on my own that I don't think too much about myself, but then talking to other people about them, you see them in an entirely different way and have a whole new appreciation for them. And yeah. Anyway, and then of course there's just the socializing, right?
Yep.
We're all moms, busy people. Well, okay. So it's not just a mom thing. Book clubs aren't just a mom thing, but
right.
Anyway, you're just busy and sometimes you don't see people or friends or get out enough, and book clubs are a great excuse to go and hang out with other people, like-minded people.
Totally. Yeah.
Get some social interaction.
So I actually have a little quote to share. I was just reading this last night. So I've been reading this book, The Read Aloud Family.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. And she actually has a chapter that is just about how to create a book club culture in your own home, which is kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
But she has a fun or a perfect description of book clubs that I want to read. She said, "This is what a book club is for. It is to connect us more deeply with what we read, to help us bond more meaningfully with the people in our lives, to leave us feeling as though we've only shaken hands with the story. We're now hungry to go back and spend more time with this book or another one." And I totally agree with that. You know, I think that it is to help us connect with what we read. It is to help us bond with someone else, because if we share books together, we really do understand them better and gain new insights. And then it's to help us feel like, you know, just to kind of spark that continual love of reading. You know, it just makes you want to go out and read more. So
yeah, definitely. Oh, so much good stuff about book clubs.
Yep. So let's now just talk about our own experiences with book clubs and kind of share some of the ones that we've been in, because I think we have between the two of us, I think we have a fairly broad repertoire of book clubs. So Suzanne, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So as we lived in Chicago is when my husband was going to law school there. So I had just graduated, and I think the book club, I'm pretty sure that the book club already existed, had been going strong before I moved to the area. But anyway, it was just the group of women in my church group, in our ward, and they were just such a fabulous group of women, and they were all very smart. And I mean, because most of our husbands were there for school, but some of the women were actually there for school. So some of them were getting PhDs and like just really smart people. And so the books they chose were always very deep books, a few of the favorites that I remember, like Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, and Angle of Repose by Wallace Stegner. Anyway, just some like really good ones, and the discussions were just so good. Anyway, that book club gave me life. It gave me like an intellectual outlet, and it was actually leaving Chicago and leaving that book club where I was like, I need something else to take the place of this book club for me. And that's when I started my book blog. So I was like, I need to keep this going, this like great bookish community.
Right.
Anyway, so that one was a really positive book club experience. And then we moved to Houston, and in Houston, I was actually part of 2 book clubs there, and one of them was a little dysfunctional is not the right word. It just didn't meet very often. Right. It was still good, but it just didn't meet very often. The other one I was a part of, I'm calling it a book club, even though technically it was called a learning circle.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of these?
Yep.
Yeah. So this one was like a formal, it's done through an organization called Power of Moms. And there is a book that we would read a chapter from each month. So you'd read a chapter of the book, and then you'd get together and talk about it. And they were always about a motherhood, parenting, home organization, those types of topics. So
based on the chapter, you wouldn't do like an extra, like there wasn't extra reading.
Occasionally people would recommend like outside reading, but it was based on the chapter in the book. Yeah. Cool. And so that is not a typical traditional book club at all, but it was fabulous. It was really, really good because it was like a support/therapy group too. And we would all just come and like be able to express all our frustrations with motherhood and get them out, and have women like still have this structured reading that we were doing to talk about. And I really miss that group too.
Yeah.
Really miss that.
So I used to have a similar group to that. It was not through Power of Moms, but we just called it our education group, and we would read books on education basically. So it wasn't motherhood, but it was more about education and how to educate children. And so that one though, gradually, like, it got to be a little bit too much for people to read an entire book per month. So we would change it up and have it be maybe like a an article that we read instead, or we listened to a TED Talk or podcast episode. And so even though those aren't traditional book clubs, because you're not reading a book, it still is great to come together and have some, like,
discuss
have
ideas.
Yes, and have something that you've all kind of a common place to start before you branch out.
And okay, so 2 more book clubs that I'll mention that I've been in. I'm in one now in our area in Kansas City. That was once again started by a neighbor friend up in January. So we've only been meeting since January, but so far it's been going really well. I'm really enjoying this group. So that's fun. But I also do, and I've been trying to remember how many years we've been doing this. I think we've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. I have been part of a virtual online book club. Old college roommates. And yeah, we all spread across the country. We're in all 4 time zones, and we rarely get to see each other. And so we decided that we wanted to do this, and we only do it about every other month. But we pick a book, we all read it, and then we do a Google Hangout together on a night that works for people, and so that we can all see each other virtually and catch up on each other's lives, but then also talk about a book, because they're just, it's a fun way to bond.
And I think that is such a cool idea, because I think a lot of people might not know how to get started, or they just feel like they don't know other people in their neighborhood who might be as big of readers as they are. And so I think it's nice to be able to think back on the people that you maybe knew while you were in school, or when you lived somewhere else, and kind of bring that group together.
Yeah.
So really find the big readers that you've known throughout your life and make it work that way. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a great way to stay in touch. Okay, so what about you, Amy? What's your experience?
When my oldest was a baby, I joined my first official book club, and it was just part of our neighborhood, and it was pretty traditional, I'd say, just with like a different host every month and discussions. And it was great, and I loved it. But as the years progressed, it started to become more of like a social group, and there were maybe 4 of us that would actually consistently read the book, even though the email announcing book club would go out to probably 50 people. But sometimes we'd get a big mix of people, but usually it was just the 4 of us who would read the book, which made it hard because we were there to discuss the book, but then anyone else who hadn't actually discussed it just wanted to be there to socialize, which makes sense. There were always good treats and everything. And so we kind of rebelled, and we did a break-off group. We were like, no, okay, we want a real book club, a serious book club. And so the 4 of us took that and then invited people that we knew were actually committed readers and wouldn't be, dissuaded by a harder, heavier book. Because that was the thing too. If we were reading a light, fast read, we got a lot more participation, but those aren't always the best discussion books. And so we wanted to be able to read the books that would really provide a good discussion, because that's why we were coming, to dive into that book. And so we all kind of invited people that we knew were big readers, and we limited it to 12 people, which I'm not saying that that's the best way to do it, but for us, that was how we wanted to do it, because we wanted everyone to have a turn hosting, and everyone to be able to take a turn leading the discussion just throughout the year. And it's been awesome. I can't even tell you. I mean, if you want a serious book club, I highly recommend, kind of limiting it, but it's hard because you don't want to make it exclusive, because obviously if people are big readers, you want them to feel like they can come. But I think for us, we made it a big point when we've invited people to say, it's kind of expected that you'll come to all the meetings and read all the books, except for maybe a couple a year, because obviously everyone has busy lives and might not be able to do every single discussion. But
That's really funny though. I've never been in a book club that's had the problem of too many people.
Right.
Well,
and I think
only three showing up. And anyway.
Yeah. And I think the problem for us was before it was just that the email was going out to so many people, but we didn't actually know who we'd get at the discussion. And this way, we know that we are going to have a very solid core group of people who have all read the book. And it's been awesome because we have chosen books that have been tough reads and have been slow going to get through, but we all have read it because we know that that's kind of the expectation for us. And yeah, so that's been great. That's a very traditional, very serious book club. So definitely I've seen it go where it's still traditional, but it's a little bit more casual. It's not, the expectations aren't quite as high, and the books maybe are a little bit easier. But then I just wanted to talk about a couple of other kind of non-traditional book clubs. One is that every summer when my family has their family reunion, we do a family book club where we just...
I think that is such a fun idea.
Yeah, it's really fun. So just a few months before the reunion, whoever is kind of in charge of the reunion that year picks the book, and then everyone reads it. And then just on an evening during the family reunion, after the little kids have gone to bed, we all meet and discuss the book. And it's really fun. So this year, my husband and I were actually planning my family's reunion. And so I chose The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin to use for our book club discussion. And I am so excited to discuss this because I think it's going to be fascinating, especially in a family setting, to kind of go through her personality and types and figure out which one each of us is and how we relate to each other. And, you know, I think that it will be fun. But then there's one other.
I will say.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to jump in. That my in-laws actually have done some book, like not very regularly. They did one book club virtually once. And it fizzled. But then they did another one at a family reunion. And the book was Moby Dick. And I am ashamed to say that I did not read it and I did not participate. And I can't remember why. I feel like I had an excuse or a reason, like something else going on in my life or something.
That's a big commitment. So that's impressive.
But everyone else in the family, including my husband, read Moby Dick, and they also want to talk about it. I know. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Oh, yeah. So then I was just going to say that this summer, I'm actually planning on doing a little book club just with my own family, just my husband.
This sounds so fun.
Oldest kids. And I'm excited for this because my boys, as long as they've been alive, know that I go to book club, that I'm always reading a book for book club. And sometimes I host book club, and they're always so jealous when they see all those treats get spread out and they don't get them, and they know it's for my book club. So they'll all just kind of talk about it. And I just think it will be so fun for each of us to read the same book and then come together and have treats just like normal, just like a regular book club, and have discussion questions.
That sounds so fun.
Interested to see what they say about it. So I'm planning, I would like to do 2 this summer, but we'll see how the first one goes. And
have you already picked out the books that you're...
No, but if anyone has any good suggestions for book club, so discussion books that would be good for, you know, a 6-year-old through a 9-year-old, which I would say, I mean, when you hear 6, I think you think really pretty young, but he has a very high level of comprehension. And so I feel like, and reading level also. So I think we can definitely be in the middle grade range for whatever we choose. So yeah, well, I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how it goes.
But then before we move past these book clubs, we can't forget to mention that on the Book Blab, we have had our own book clubs twice. We've done 2 different books, and that has been so fun.
And we call them mini book clubs because it is just the 2 of us. But yes, I know it is. like I said, why I do the book blogging and why we do this. It's just so fun to talk about books.
Yep. And I mean, I've known people who do read it with us. And even though they're not participating as much live as we're doing it or anything, they still think it's fun then to come and hear our discussion about it because they've read the book also. So we need to get another one of those set up for the future.
Yeah, we totally will.
So, okay, well, that was a lot of different ideas for different types of book clubs. And so now let's just talk a little bit about, well, I just thought maybe we should talk about any logistics that are helpful to know or that you've used that you feel like made the book club work really well. So I'll just say that in my serious book club, we have come up with a great way of choosing books that I love. I think it works so well. And that is that the December before the new year, we meet together as a book club, and everyone has been assigned a genre or chosen their genre. We have a list of genres, and you can just, say, I call September, which is nonfiction or whatever. So we have our list of genres: nonfiction, historical fiction, traditional fiction, middle grade. We usually do one of a memoir, all different kinds. And then each one of us comes with 3 suggestions for whatever month we chose. So, for example, if I had a nonfiction month, I would come with 3 suggestions for that month. And then we go around month by month, and that person gives their 3 suggestions, and then the group collectively votes on which one they want to read for the year. And the reason I like this is because it still kind of gives responsibility to one member of the group, but it also removes some of the pressure of having to choose the book themselves, because you give your summaries and synopses, and then everyone else chooses, what they think sounds interesting. And so it makes it so that if you ever get kind of a bomb of a book, that people can't blame you as much because they all hated it, because they played an active part in choosing it. So that has worked really well because it spreads out the responsibility. And
I was going to say that is a super organized way of doing it. I have never belonged to a book club that's quite planned out a year in advance like that.
But the other great thing about planning a year out in advance is that if you do have some of those heavy hitters, people have a heads up on them, and they can read ahead, and that's great because it gives them time to get through a really thick novel. Or
the problem that we run into frequently is choosing fairly popular books that have really long wait lists, so you have time to actually check those books out from the library.
On hold well in advance, so that you can make sure that you get them. Yeah. So it's been great. I mean, it sounds kind of daunting to plan out the whole year, but it's actually such a fun night. So for all of us. So, and we always come away then with 3 times as many book recommendations, right? Because we have the ones that we chose, and then we have all these other possibilities that always sound really good. So
yeah, it's fun. Yeah. So the book clubs I've been a part of have definitely, I can't remember how the Chicago one worked actually, but at least the one where I'm in now and the virtual one is more at the end of the meeting, we'll choose our next read and we'll choose who's hosting the next time. And I would say that can be good for those of us who don't necessarily know our schedules a year in advance, as far as I don't know if September is a good month for me to host or not.
Well, we're fine with trading, if something comes up. But yeah, that's how I've done it in the book club that kind of preceded the current one. And it was great, but sometimes those discussions then just lasted into the night, and people could never make a decision. They were like, oh, we've got so many choices now. And but that way works too. We've definitely done it that way before.
But the way we're doing it now in this book club I'm in now is it's the person who's hosting who gets to choose. So it is one person sort of picking the book who's in charge of it. But one thing I do like about that is that when I'm in charge, I'm in control. Like I get to say, we're reading this book because I really want to talk to someone about it.
Right.
Like this upcoming month, we're reading Educated because I read it right before our last book club. And I was like, no, we're reading this one because I need to talk to people about this.
Awesome.
So anyway, yeah. That's a pro of being able to control things a little bit more last minute. Anyway.
Awesome. Well, and I was going to just say to our viewers, you know, I think summer is actually a great time to start a book club if you don't have one already.
Oh, it totally is.
Sometimes people think summer's really busy and crazy with schedules, and that is true that people are out of town a little bit more often in the summer. But I also think people have more time to read in the summer lots of times, and so it can be a great time to just kind of get it kicked off. And
Right. So let's talk about if you want to start a book club. If you want to start a book club, about doing it. So, because one of the things that you mentioned, which I think was interesting, was that idea of carefully picking your people who, and right now I will say that non-exclusive book clubs are a very good idea as far if your goal is more sociality, right?
Yeah,
and sometimes that is.
Want to get to know people in the neighborhood, it can be so awesome to
yes.
Real, and it's a great way to welcome someone into the neighborhood too. You know, like someone who moves in and you're like, do you like to read? Oh, well, you should join our book club. So that's why I do like the ones that are a little bit more casual too, because it is nice to be able to invite everyone.
And I absolutely understand the value of it being a social experience, and it being like, here's where I'm making friends, here's where I'm getting some adult contact, you know, and here's my night out for the month. So yeah, like those types are great if you want to do just an open-ended social evening. Those types are great. But yeah, if you are interested in a little bit more or focused type of book club, then yes. And so when it comes to, we already talked about this, but when it comes to the idea of choosing your people who you want to talk to, I mean, that was sort of where the my roommate virtual book club came about. Was I can't remember if I'm the one who runs it now. I can't remember if I'm the one who suggested it in the first place or if someone else suggested it. Question of, I miss talking to you guys about what I'm reading,
right?
Because that's what we used to do in our college dorms, is talk to each other about what we were studying, what we were learning in class, and like they were all very smart women, and so it was this idea of think of those people who you want to talk to about books and invite them to join your book club or your virtual book club. I'm a huge fan of virtual book clubs. They're great. Technology is great these days for those things. So yeah, even if they live across the country or across the world, you can still talk to people.
Yep, totally. So if our viewers have any questions about how, you know, specific questions about how to start a book club or how we run one of our book clubs now, feel free to comment and ask us. We'd love to answer.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking, you know, I think our time is almost up for this time, but we haven't even really talked about what good book club books are.
Oh my goodness, that's a whole other show that we need to do, right?
We might have to do a part 2 of this class because I feel like that's huge too. It's just the right book, choosing the kind of book that's going to spark a good discussion.
Yes. That is a very specific kind of book.
Yeah, because I can actually remember many years ago, I think we read Anna and the French Kiss, I think. Oh. And because someone wanted something light, and there was no discussion. There was just not much to say about that book. So I'm just saying, some books are great for discussion, and some just, you know, they might be really fun to read. There's just not much to talk about after.
Okay, so we'll have part 2 of this discussion sometime about good book club books to actually pick. Definitely.
Yep, and that one will be full of book recommendations. But speaking of book recommendations, now we're going to move into our book recommendation segment, and we have Mother's Day coming up this weekend, and so we thought it might be fun to recommend a book that would be good for Mother's Day, or a book that inspires us with a good mother character, or just whatever
about motherhood in general.
About motherhood. Yeah. So, Suzanne, what did you choose?
Yeah, so I kind of went back and forth. I go back and forth every month. Thinking about, did I want to do like a good nonfiction one where it's like, oh, here's some like really inspiring motherhood stories, because I've read plenty of those and I love plenty of those. But I think I'm going to go ahead and recommend The Snow Child by A.O. and Ivy. Ironic because the mother in that book is actually childless,
right?
And it's actually like a really hard book about infertility struggles and things like that. But it just has so many beautiful things about about those sort of struggles, and women who do struggle with that are still mothers, and the story of I mean, it's not really an adoption story, but just loving the children that come into your life.
Right.
And it's a beautiful portrayal of fatherhood too. It's both. It is both motherhood and fatherhood. And
I mean, it has more than one example of mothers also. So.
Yes, it does. Anyway, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book all around. Just general recommend, high favorite. Definitely read it.
Yep, I just read that this year on your recommendation, and I can vouch that it's a really good one. So my choice.
Hey, what's your book?
I did go kind of more the true story route, and this is one that I think about whenever I think of just kind of a stalwart, awesome mother that you just want to emulate. It's this one, the prize winner of Defiance, Ohio. Have you read this one?
I haven't read it yet. It's been on my TDR forever, so you know.
So it's the true story. It's written by, so it's about a woman named Evelyn Ryan, and it's written by her daughter, Terry. And the story, so she had 10 children, and her husband was an alcoholic, so kind of in and out of taking care of his family. And so she basically supported and raised her children by answering ads that she would see in the newspaper about composing jingles for just little poems, little songs that could be used for commercials or advertisements. And it would be a contest. This is in the 1950s. And you cannot believe the number of things this woman won by composing little 25-word jingles. Like everything from cars to refrigerators to cash prizes. I mean, she did get some cash prizes too. And it's just a really inspiring story. And I think one of the reasons I love it the most is because I think people could look at her situation, fairly poor, with a husband who, was an alcoholic and not taking care of his family very well, and all of these children. And I think they could look at that and think, she made a mistake somewhere along the way. But
she got herself into this.
Yeah, but she never approaches life that way. She never approaches it with any regret. It's more, she stays married to her husband, and they love each other, they love their kids, and she makes the best of the situation. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, that rather than apologizing for herself or her life or complaining about it, she makes the best of it. And it's really inspiring to read. So highly recommend that one.
Okay. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining. So much fun every month. This has been a good one. We will continue this discussion at some point, but definitely for any of our viewers, we'd love to hear about your book club experiences, what kind of book clubs you've been a part of, what's worked for your book clubs, and even your book club book suggestions, so that we can talk about that next time we talk about this. And also, we love topic suggestions. So if you have an entirely different topic suggestion, we'd love to hear that too, and maybe we will do it in a future episode. So yeah, leave us some comments, and we will be back maybe next month. Hopefully, cross our fingers next month with another fun.
We will be back.
Exactly.
We don't know when, but we will be back.
with another fun bookish topic. So we'll see you then.
Hey, bye.
Bye.